Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do an analysis of the 2023 governor's races before they actually happen, before 2023 even hits, simply because of the fact that, yeah, these are the next major elections that we are going to be covering, I think on this channel, hopefully on this channel. And so we kind of need to preview them and get an idea of what's going to happen. So, looking at this, I filled out the governor's map. Republicans have 25 governorships after these elections, and Democrats have 22 governorships. This does include Alaska, by the way, which is certain to go to Mike Dunleavy at this point. Despite the ranked choice voting almost certain to happen, he's only barely above the 50% threshold at this point. I do think it'll go to ranked choice, and Dunleavy should pretty easily win that ranked choice. So, that leaves us with these remaining three governorships, which include the state of Kentucky, the state of Mississippi, and the state of Louisiana, two of which already have Democratic governors, surprisingly enough. We would mostly expect Louisiana and Kentucky to have Republican governors, but they do actually not. They both have Democratic governors. There's some of those rare states that actually choose um, the popularity of a candidate over their party, which is interesting. It's sort of like in the New England region where Phil Scott and Chris Sununu kind of have their base there that kind of backs them no matter what. It's sort of the same thing here. So, without further ado, let's look at these races in much more detail. We will start off with the state of Mississippi. That's going to be the easiest state. We don't really know much about this one yet. We see that only one candidate has really expressed interest in the Republican Party, that being Philip Gunn, the Speaker of the Mississippi House of Representatives. Tate Reeves has not decided whether or not he's going to run again. He's the incumbent governor. Last time he won with only about 5% more than his challenger Jim Hood, which is pretty bad, and he's not the most popular governor for a red state like Mississippi, so I could see him potentially getting in a close race, but I don't see that really happening. I think 2023 is going to be a lot more like 2021. We're going to see a lot more. We're going to see way more of a sort of a red wave than 2022 was. 2022 disappointment for Republicans. It's really looking like they're only going to barely hold the House or actually win the House, flip it. Um, which is a problem for them, obviously, because it means they're not going to have nearly as much authority in Congress as they were initially hoping for. But nonetheless, I think this state is probably going to be safe. I don't see it having much difficulty being safe right now, so we are going to put it in the safe Republican column. The next state we're going to look at is the state of Louisiana. And in Louisiana, it's very, very interesting. There are a lot of candidates running for this seat. John Bel Edwards, the incumbent, is term limited. He's not the most popular, so I don't really see him having much of a chance to have a Democratic successor. We can see in 2015 he was elected pretty handily over David Vitter. In 2019 he just barely got by. And then in 2023, it's looking more and more like this is going to flip. Probably the best opportunity for Republicans to pick up a Democratic seat. So looking at the Democratic candidates thus far, we only got one that's really expressed interest. Louisiana Secretary of Transportation, a statewide official, so probably a good choice for the Democrats to put forward. The rest of these, kind of more local people. Gary Chambers would be an absolutely horrible choice. If they run him, this is certain to be SAFAR. Considering he's just, like, look, he ran in 2022 against John Kennedy, and he only got 18% of the vote. I mean, he has his base, but it's not going to help him in a general for governor, considering he's sort of like the Herschel Walker of Indiana, I guess you could say. Anyway, Louisiana. Anyway, there's the mayor of New Orleans. She's kind of going to run, although I'm not sure if that's going to make much of a difference. Mitch Landrieu, that could be possible. Luke Mixon, meh. The rest of these, sort of just like meh. Like, not really incredible picks either way. Mayor Baton Rouge. I mean, some of these that have more local officials but do really well in their home cities, but they wouldn't really do that well in a regular election, so I'm not seeing any of them to have much of a chance. I think Sean Wilson, probably the best candidate they could run, or Mitch Landrieu, I don't really know. Republican candidates, there are a lot of statewide officials running, and this is why I can almost guarantee this one to flip, because it's just not looking good for Democrats to be able to hold this seat. As we can see right here, we have two already declared. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry and Billy Nungesser, the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana. Those are both statewide elected offices, although Landry has been endorsed by the Republican establishment in Louisiana. So there were some big names that were in the running as well, like Bill Cassidy, the incumbent U.S. Senator. He would probably lose. He's not very popular in the state. He would probably not make it that far in a blanket primary. Because if we do look at the jungle primary polling, we see that he's only down at 10%. Not a very good showing. But John Kennedy is the real big name that's running in this race. I think if you decide to run, he would absolutely be the front runner. And he would probably win. He's very popular in Louisiana. If we look at the 2022 election, he won about 61 or 62% of the vote. He did better than Bill Cassidy did in 2020. And he is just in general a very, very popular U.S. Senator, considering he single-handedly carried over 60% of the vote without even having to go to a runoff. That's overperforming Trump, that's overperforming Cassidy. That's in general a very good showing. So, John Schroeder, the Louisiana State Treasurer, also a good option. These are all statewide elected officials, which is very important. State representatives like Stuart Bishop probably aren't going to make it that far. I would... Garrett Graves, U.S. Representative. That's actually interesting. I did not see him on that list before. There are... Heck, even Steve Scalise is considered... Steve Scalise is not running, okay? Hate to break it to you, he's not running. We also have one independent who's running, Hunter Lundry. Not to be confused with Landry. Oh, he ran in 1996 as a Democrat. That's pretty funny. So they've officially endorsed Landry for the open seat. The party establishment has, but I'm not sure how far this is going to go. I think if Kennedy jumped in, he would be the absolute front runner, and I'm going to put this race as safe Republican, meaning that it is gained because just due to the state's partisan lean. It's going to be hard to recreate what John Bel Edwards did, and plus, since I am anticipating 2023, to be more of a red wave year than 2022 was, probably more on par with 2021, I'm going to say it is a safe Republican race. We're now going to look at Kentucky, the final race, and we have an incumbent here, which is a problem for Republicans. If we look back here, he defeated the incumbent governor very, very narrowly by only about 5,000 votes in a very red state, which is significant. We can see it was largely due to Matt Bevin's unpopularity that he won, but now, going into this election, Andy Beshear, the incumbent, is actually pretty popular. He's got about a 50-something% approval rating. I think it's higher than Laura Kelly's, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's higher than Laura Kelly's. And Laura Kelly was able to win re-election in a year that was more favorable to Democrats than anticipated. So I would say that in a year like this, Beshear could be in trouble, where it's a much more favorable year. For Republicans, because I do think that this is going to be a more Republican-favored environment. So looking at the Republican candidates, we do have one that's endorsed by Trump. That would be Daniel Cameron. Daniel Cameron is the Kentucky Attorney General, who I think that was Beshear's initial position before he became governor. We have Kelly Craft, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and to Canada. Under Trump, which it's interesting he didn't endorse her. We have a random attorney running. Don't pay any attention to him. Mike Harmon, Kentucky State Auditor, decent candidate, statewide office. And we have the Kentucky Commissioner of Agriculture. We also have Matt Bevin being considered as a potential candidate, which is actually very interesting. I don't think that guy should ever run again for any statewide office. He's sort of like the Chris Kobach of Kentucky. So, Daniel Cameron has the Trump endorsement. I think he's already well on his way to winning this primary. He's already at 46% in this poll by coefficient, which, granted, sponsored by his campaign, but that's a huge lead over most of these other candidates. We still have 22% undecided, so I think at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I think Cameron has this locked. The question is if, if Cameron really has the momentum to be able to defeat Beshear. And right now, I'm going to say no. Beshear's approval rating is so high, I think he could actually squeak by, even in this type of national environment. But I think it is very possible that he does lose. I do actually believe that. So, yeah. Anyway, that is my final prediction for what the 2023 governor's races will look like, my final prediction and preview. Comment down below and do all that stuff. I'll see you later.